What's happening? A well-organized lie defeats a disorganized truth every time. Woo-hoo-wee. Man, y'all already know what it is, man. It's God Killer in the house. Hey, check this out, family, man. Look, got a real interesting show tonight, man. We want to make sure we crystal clear in what we doing and concise in our premises. All right. So y'all already know we use scientific data to kind of understand biological information. And so when we talk about the first of anything, we have to delve into biology, and we trying to get the people to really see that. Here, Sister Naya, I'm a raw squad up. What's good?
What's good, brother Unc? I'm sorry I had you on mute so we can have some clear and concise. Let me put you on. Let me put my face on mute. Some clear and concise audio. So you see, I got my map up here, y'all. I'm ready to talk about the first Americans.
Big ass map right there. Sean P, what's good, man? Mossy Clan Warrior. I'm a raw squad up.
I'm a raw squad up. Poach up to the panel. Thanks for having me.
Man, that's always, man. We just want to have this discussion. I think the last 4 classes I did on Sarnetta TV, I haven't gotten any rebuttal whatsoever, and I never really expected it. I think that it's very vital that we continue to do what we do. That's just so important. And we got to just keep going live. We gave them some room, wiggle room to hang out in the ethers for a while. Now it's time to really get back into the science and technology and just really giving our real accurate story. I think the thing that really amazes me is this thing that's permeating through the community, and it's been going on for a very, very long time, right? The narrative that white people are wrong about everything. All right, that's a dangerous approach, and I think it's got us caught into a pickle. Okay, so like when we study science, we know that all scientists don't necessarily agree, and it seems to be a consensus of people that want to promote like the scientific racism aspect, because there was a time, and it probably is still kicking, right? I'm not going to put my guard down ever, but there's time periods when Harvard and Yale, they were actually promoting that black people weren't all human, and they was teaching this in science class, right? And that's the narrative we kind of got on to. Remember, they did that to support their claims in actually kidnapping us and holding us against our will, right? They use that. But what most people don't talk about is that a lot of scientists did not agree with that. Okay, so we need to also look at that. That there's a lot of fraudulent scientists at times, right? But when you look at the whole thing of science, right? Science is self-correcting. That's the only thing you can actually catch them with. Because like I say, white people will lie, black people might lie, right? But numbers don't. And so the only way you're going to catch them and defeat them is with science, because they're using science. And so based off of that approach, we got to stay steeped in science. All right. So, I just want to kind of bring that clear. And then I find it very interesting when the quote unquote Aborigines elbows, right? When these particular people, they use the tactic of, they're not going to tell us our story. They're lying about our story. What they never told you. You hear these narratives running through it. The fact of the matter is, science is at the forefront of giving us our accurate history. And so if I had to choose between mythology and science and pseudoscience, I'm going to go with science to tell my history because it's clear. And so we're winning. When we use science, we're winning. So, I just want to kind of start it off with that, and we just want to get it real clear. And I'm gonna go back and kind of show what Con Calloway did and what they're doing. Misinforming us. They're using the blackout narrative, the blackology narrative, and they're using it as a way of entrapping our people with the false narrative and the false information. So, when we use DNA, when we use anthropology, paleontology, when we use these sciences are clear on who and what we are. And it's about time, we need to get the community on board with that. You want to add something with that, Sister Nadia?
No, Brother Unc, I think that was a good introduction. I think one of the things that attracted me to this subject was the psychology behind the claims that we're Black Aboriginals. And when I say we, I'm specifically talking about African Americans, the 45 million of us or so who live here in America. And so it interests me because I really wanted to know what would make a people disown their homeland. And when I refer to homeland, I'm talking about Africa. So what would make Africans living in America disown their homeland of Africa, despite hundreds of years of slavery in this land, hundreds of years of humiliation, murder, rape? What would make a people, from a psychological perspective, disown the essence of who they are? And so when we look at the first American debate and we talk about who are the Aboriginals, what we're really looking at is an issue of identity. In many ways, we suffer from identity crisis. So I think it's important that we clarify, those of us who are interested in science, proper methodology, truth. I think that it's important that we bring clarity to the community, because we never want to put ourselves in a position where we're being marginalized and we're being removed from the chronological history because we're ancient people and our people were first. Our people are the original people, but at the same time, we also don't want to marginalize others. So I think that it's important that we continue to have this conversation.
Well, yeah, Sean.
I'm right here. I mean, not too much to add to y'all. You pretty much said it like it was, and I don't like the fact that people want to run away from their history. I mean, at least we're here to tell our story. I think that many people get that confused, and understanding that particular principle is that we're here to tell our story. Um, we have a path that we can walk back toward to clean up a lot of this misinformation. These people that claim that they're indigenous or from here and all this other native stuff, those people, pretty much history is non-existent. So, that's where I'm at.
You said what, Sean? What'd you say?
I was just saying that's where I'm at with it, man. These people that claim they're native or indigenous, they really don't know their history. I mean, if they think they've been here this whole time, they don't know their history. They lost.
Oh, shit.
They're gonna pick up their history in the 1400s. That's literally where all of them start. So prior to the 1400s, what were you doing? So it's just sad, man. You want to run away from something so great. I mean, we withstood everything that they threw at us.
Yeah, man, shit, man. I think that's part of the narrative that don't nobody want to. First of all, no one likes to lose. Second of all, no one likes to admit when you lost. And who the hell wants to admit that you actually been kidnapped and led astray? So most people don't want to face that. But that's just part of our story, man. And that's a small part of our story. You know, I just like to really make that known. That's a very, very small part of who we are and what we are, right? But that part is a very, very important part. And maybe I wouldn't be so ferocious on the subject if they wouldn't deny that part of our history. I mean, that part of our history shows our destined to win. You know what I'm saying? Our destined to go through struggle and to come out on the other side and to be able to have a precise look at, you know, what it was that we went through, what it is we got to do not to go back on that track. You know what I'm saying? Like that's serious right there. I mean, hell, if we was looking at this thing we call our history, man, we only in the daggone hell, the first quarter of what the hell we are and who we are for real. So just cause we go down a couple points, you know what I mean? Man, we coming right back. You know what I'm saying? And so don't jump on the wagon, you know what I mean? Cause we coming back, you know what I mean? Y'all done jumped off of it. And so it is very, very unscientific to say that we always was in the Americas. It is the most ridiculous pseudo claim known to man. And I'm gonna show you where that claim came from real fast. It'll be four. And you got this book right here. See? Let's set the daggone record straight. Malachi York, Grand Pote. All right? Right here. This is where most people got that from. When they start saying it was called Utland and all that, and land of frogs, man, they got that from Malachi York. All right? And with no source. All right? So there's a few things we can defeat this source with. When there's not a source, we can defeat this whole daggone nonsense. So basically, he was talking about right here on page 18. All right? He's basically talking about how we walked over here. Talks about what was he said? Some say men known as new booms. He made up a whole new word. NUWBUNS. There ain't no people call that, right? Then he goes original non-ether. All right. Woolly head beings, right? And are not Nubians. So we don't know who the new booms is. And he shows you pictures of the All Max and all that. That's part of the whole complete foolery, right? But this is where this narrative starts. They say the All Max were also referred to as rubber people. Okay, they came here before the continental drift. Right there, they came here before the continental drift by walking here millions of years ago and setting up what is called today Atlantis. All right, so there you go, right there, right there, right there, right? 30 years ago, right? This narrative started with that foolery. So that's one of the claims they make. We was always here, right? Well, he says we walked over here. This is easily refuted, all right, by using science. Now you got to understand geology, got to understand ice ages. This is all part of the study. So if you're going to deal with the people, you got to deal with their lands. You got to deal with the earth. You got to know most people aren't scientifically literate on what the earth is. Okay. It's just they just not. Okay, let's just make that clear. They're not. They don't understand the earth. You'll hear people call out flat earth because they don't understand geodesity. That's the study of the size and shape of the earth. Right? And the earth is large. It's a very, very large place. So, you know, just the study alone is daunting, right? But we know about continental drifts. Okay, so if this is the funny part about this, y'all, people claim they don't like science, the white man's science, but in their explanation of things, they'll use science. So whenever you use the word continental drift, right, you're talking about an actual theory, plate tectonic theory. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're talking about. Plain and simple. It's a scientific theory. All right. And they give you a date, approximate date, right, of around 250 million years ago when the place started moving apart. Right? That's the scientific theory. You know what I'm saying? What historical records do you find the continental drift in? Name your source. They just not gonna be able to do it. Right? So you claiming white man this, white man that, that's a white man theory right there. Our ancestors didn't know about the continental drift or plate tectonics. They didn't know about that. Okay? So, there you have it again, using scientific terms and not understanding. So you can't put human beings on Earth at 250 million years. If you go to that strata, that different levels, you do not find human beings on Earth at 250 million years. Anybody want to add something to that?
Well, I think that. Oh, wait, I'm getting some background. Okay. So I think that basically, the part of the problem with the entire group who are really the superstars of this conversation until you got into the game anyway. A lot of them, they really have a poor, what I've noticed, a poor sense of chronology and history and what constitute modern man, like in terms of Homo sapiens sapien. We know that there's archaeological evidence that shows stone tools that was in the Americas, but there's no evidence that states that those tools belong to modern man, because of how the hominid species evolved. You can't say that they didn't use tools. They may have used tools. So I think that's what's happening is that they're cherry picking and looking at the information, looking at the data, looking at the tools, and then they're trying to connect Homo sapiens sapien, which is our species, to previous human species. So I think in this show, it's going to be important that we clarify what Homo sapien is, and then B, that we look at the migration patterns outside of Africa, look at the DNA, look at the evidence to begin to get a better picture about the Aboriginal claim and to determine whether it's fact or fiction. Because the thing about the Aboriginal claim that people don't realize is that it's really a myth. The myth that we are Native American and that we have Cherokee in our blood, this is a myth that's been in our community for hundreds of years. So what you see people trying to use science to justify the myth. But that creates problems because that is poking holes in your methodology. So we got to make sure that everybody's on the right page in terms of looking at the information. So where do you want to start?
I'd like to start with Con Calloway. Shit. Well, okay. All right, you threw a few things out there. All right, talked about humans. So let's classify what humans are. There are more than one species of human that resided on planet Earth. That is a scientific fact. They got the bones, okay? You can go to museums. If you don't got the actual bones, they'll give you casts of bones. This is what is going down. You're not going to get around the skulls, the feet, the toes, the hips. You're just not going to get past that. So I'm going to say this again, right? There are more than one human species residing on the planet Earth. All other species of human have went extinct. The only surviving member of the human species is we call the AMH. It's nomenclature for anatomically modern human. When I say anatomically, I'm talking about your skull, your skeletal structure. You know what I'm saying? Being the exact same way. Like modern humans look just like this. So if you go back to 250, maybe 300,000 years ago, you would have brothers and sisters looking just like this. No different. Same brain capacity, same thinking, same cunning and baffleness, same thing, same behaviors, everything, right? Just like you can think and we super sharp now, they was just as sharp back then. There's no scientific evidence that would say that would show you that those people back then wasn't as smart as these people right now. It's a scientific fact that they absolutely were, had the same brain capacity. They just had different things to deal with, different environments, and out of their environments, they developed tools, right, that would help them maneuver and manipulate their environment. So different species of humans. All right. Just want to make that point. Go ahead, Naya. Sean.
Sean, do you want to find anything about human speak, the Homo sapien sapien, or AMH?
You go ahead. I'm grabbing articles.
All right.
Okay, I already covered speciation, Dr. Ma'ad and I on Sonetta TV. Go watch that show with me and Dr. Ma'ad. We talked about the speciation process. But what I do want, oh, and also in Unk's book, Chronology of Evolution, we broke down the speciation process in the different species. And so it's important in your methodology that you understand two things. You understand the names of the different species as well as the dates, because that's going to help you when you're researching and you're correlating time frame. So for instance, if you read an article and they're specifically talking about 250,000 or 350,000 hominid species in Asia, then when you know the species, you know that they're not talking about Homo sapiens sapien. They'll use the term human, but they're talking about archaic human and likely Homo erectus in Asia around that time. Or what's the other one in Asia?
You mean what, Homo habilis?
Yes, no, Homo habilis I think is more in is down south, Southeast Asia. Yeah, yeah. So
Homo erectus. Homo erectus.
Homo erectus. So it's important when we're having this conversation about the first Americans, that it's important that we stay within the confines of research in our methodology, not because we want to practice white man science, just because we want to make sure that our results are accurate. So when we're looking at the out of Africa theory, and I know Amarasquan and Wujawu, we've covered this a number of times, so I won't go over it, but when we're talking about the out of African migration, we're talking about a certain time frame. And we're looking at different groups of populations of people. So you can either look at the Y chromosome for your research, or you can look at the M or the mitochondria for your research, just to see the patterns in the research that's surrounded around each population. So you want to say anything else on? Did I miss something?
No, you're right on it. And so we also could talk about the Arthropithecines that inhabited the earth. You know what I'm saying? And that's another study. But what I would like to say is one of the most important Arthropithecines would be Degnesh, named after an Ethiopian name, wonderful, marvelous. Okay, and she's an Arthropithecus. You probably know about Lucy. Let me see. I had a book.
But why is she important to this conversation, for the first American?
Well, because she was the first to walk upright. So you can't have humans walking upright without, nature just don't pop up out of nowhere. No, and your whole lifetime, nobody listened to the show, right? No Aboriginal, whatever they call themselves, has ever seen anything just pop up out of nowhere. No living organism just pop up. Not when you born, when you watch your children born, they don't just pop up. Okay, trees, the plants. When you grow things, you grow tomatoes in the backyard. They don't just pop up. You know what I'm saying? So why in the hell do you think humans just popped up in Americas and started walking? And so the Australopithecus Lucy actually shows there's an intermediary, all right, where her hips was at such where she could walk upright. If you know anything about apes and monkeys, they can walk upright, but they're not habitual. You know what I'm saying? Meaning they're uncomfortable walking upright. They're uncomfortable, but they can do it. All right. So Lucy was the same way, right? But she could walk upright. Homo sapiens sapiens are habitual. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we walk upright. Homo erectus is habitual, walks upright. So it fits in this conversation because you can't say humans just popped up and started walking around. It don't work that way. I hate to say it, it don't work that way. All right. So that's just a checkmate piece for all y'all to think that modern humans popped up. So there are consequences to making a statement that the first people in Americas always were in America and didn't come from nowhere else. There are consequences to that statement, right? Because as we go down on the fossil record, the deeper we go, right? If we're in North America and we're digging down, right, we find Homo sapiens sapien bones at about 15 to 17,000 years ago. You dig down deeper in the strata, you don't find them yet. I'm not saying that one day they won't find it. I'm saying as of 2018, the only thing they found was a mastodon, right? And some tools that they think, right? Some type of archaic human made. They think. They have not found bones yet proving that 130,000 years, any type of Homo was over here. All right. So I just, that's why that's important for this conversation, Sister Nadia. But go ahead.
All right, that's a great point. I'm glad you explained that. So what I want to do quickly is I want you guys to look at the map that I have on the screen because I'm going to quickly take you through just a quick migration out of Africa because there are a few things that I want you to know.
No.
What makes a person, the first thing is the definition of an African.
Naya,
Huh?
click on the screen. It's not
Okay.
showing.
It's not showing the screen?
Yeah, click it on.
Click it on.
Okay, let me go. Okay, let me go click on the screen. Oh, okay, I see what I did wrong. Y'all don't see it? Y'all don't see this screen right here?
So we can see it, but YouTube couldn't see it because you got to click on presenter. But hold on, I'm waiting to see if it catch up on the YouTube side.
Yeah, I had it on. I thought I had it on presenter. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay, there you go.
Is it on presenter now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So when we look at this map of the out of Africa migration, I'm using for the purpose of just my research. I usually study the mitochondria DNA, so this is what I'm using. You can also use the Y as well. Do you guys hear me still?
Yeah, I get you down clear.
Your picture went away. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So I usually use the mitochondria. So there's two things that I want you to pay attention to, which are the different letters that's represented on the map. And I want you to, just for the purpose of this presentation, understand that in science, when scientists use African as a designation of a race or a population or a group of people, they are specifically talking about the people in this green area, this L1, L3, L2, and N. Okay? They're not saying...
You're not sharing on YouTube again. You got to click on the presenter, the Amarat. It's going back to your talking screen. You got to click off your talking screen and click it on the presenter.
Well, I wonder why is it doing that? I didn't change it. That's crazy. Stop it.
Just touch that tab.
Okay.
That's you right there. Don't touch that one.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, guys. My technology skills are off. Okay, is that better? Can y'all see it?
Hold on. You know YouTube is behind, so let me see. Okay, go ahead and keep talking.
Okay. So when we're talking about who is African and who is not African, we're strictly talking from a scientific perspective. We all know that human life began in Africa, and all humans, if you want to say, are fundamentally Homo sapiens sapien and originated in Africa. So we know that to be true. But for the purpose of the presentation, it's important that we know these haplogroups L1, L3, and L2. Now, we do recognize within there's a lot of diversity. So we're not saying that these are the only haplogroups. These are just the only ones that scientists and geneticists have found in Africa. As African people, it's our job to get into the scientific field so we can uncover possibly more haplogroups. But for now, we're just going to use L1, L3, and L2. Now, if you can see, M actually either originated in Africa, in this East Africa zone, or in this Saudi Arabia, modern day Saudi Arabia. So you see, when the first the first Africans left Africa, they went into this area, Saudi Arabia. From there, they developed mutations, which scientists call N and M. These mutations are non-African mutations. Everyone outside of Africa belong to N and M. Everyone inside of Africa, L2, L3, or possibly M. But there's not a lot of M in Africa aside from the back migration. So as you can see, M took a southern route through, you see F, so that's Asia. So M is taking the southern route through like Iran, into India, as you can see. And from India, M goes into the tip of Australia. But also some N's also go out of Africa, and they also migrate into Australia. And then they take another route, they go north. So you see M goes into the northern part of Asia, goes all the way up into Siberia, and then kind of merges over into that Z, A, B, C, D. And as you can see, A and D goes into the Americas, which is the top part of the Americas. So when we're looking at the populations of in America, we see something very distinct with these populations that we don't see in even these African populations. So we see with the people in Americas, they have these haplogroups A, D, X, B, A, B, C, B, A, D, X. But in Africa, you see we are L1, like I'm L1, B1A. So, and then, so you see that these haplogroups in America, they are different. So when we're looking at the populations in America, it's very important that we also study these haplogroups, because these haplogroups are going to give us just a brief understanding of the mutations that took place over a period of time. Now, if you know Asia, you know that parts of Asia are cold, parts are warm, because it's the bottom part is warm because it's below the equator. So when you see the people below the equator, these Fs, these Ns, these Ms who went into Australia, and then even these Bs who went into the Indian Ocean and then into the Pacific Ocean, and they call them Oceania people, what you notice is that they have what they call Negro features. So when you look at Lucia, who was found here, where you see the B, and then when you look at the other, the skeleton, she was found in Central America, which is Mexico, they still had Negro features. But the reason they had the Negro features are not because they were L1, L3, M, or L2. They had the Negro features because they were below the equator. So just take your pen and just take it to the top of Africa and just draw a line, and then everything below M, B, A, B, and C, that's below the equator. So everyone below the equator is going to have Negro features. It has nothing to do with them being what we call Black, based on our socialization of what we call Negro in America. It has to do with their features. So you see the ones who went up top into Russia, Siberia, Alaska, they were on the Bering Strait in northern parts of Asia for a long time. So they developed some what they call East Asian features or Mongoloid features, but they remained dark because while they were on the Bering Strait, they ate a lot of fish. So they kept their dark skin. So a lot of them, when they came into the Americas, where you see them A, B, and C, they were still dark skinned, but they had Mongolian features. So when we're looking at the designation and the populations of people, it's important that we use these populations because it A, helps us understand the migration patterns, and B, it helps us to understand their history. People who are L1, L3, L2, we didn't leave Africa till around, some people want to push it back 1300s. I'll say 1300s, but we technically didn't leave. Our migration of people didn't leave until like the 15th, 16th century. So all these out of African migrations, this happened over a period of 50 to 60,000 years. And during that period, the environmental changes changed them to the point where a mutation happened. And if you guys are aware of the mutations, you know that it was a result of a natural selection. So it could have been food, it could have been environment, and it was sexual selection. So when we're looking at who's African and who's not African, it's important for the sake of argument and just so we won't minimize other people's accomplishments that we also look at the diversity of our species, Homo sapiens sapien, and not attempt to put everyone within this African designation, because what makes us truly African is because we stayed at home and we developed our own unique alleles at home. At home, we have over 300 tribes and languages and histories. We never left. The group who left, they had to mutate and change, because if they didn't mutate and change, they would have died. That's why you have the SLC485 gene, which was developed somewhere here where M is, and they took it up into Europe. The SL4AC, I think, I can't remember the code. It developed here where you see N and M in the middle of Arabia, and they took that gene up to Europe and they developed this TUVWIJK gene. And that's where white people really begin to develop. Everyone else developed either Northern Asia or Southern Asia. And if you see B, that's technically the Oceania people, which scientists don't talk a lot about, but there's a lot of research that should be done there, because that's where the Polynesians are, Malaysians, Papua-Guineans, the Samoans, they're all in this D area, and they've been there for a long time. So that's just kind of like a brief summary of migrations. And when we're categorizing people African versus non-African, we're actually looking at the haplogroups, we're looking at the migration, and we're looking at the mutations, because those mutations are a result of nature and natural selection. And so as African people, nature and natural selection is important to us because we want to honor nature and we don't want to take away from people's experience. So that's all I had to say about that. I'm sorry, I went in.
Yeah. Yo said in the chat room, the prophet, I'm probably ain't saying that wrong. He said Moors walked the earth before any race.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
He said the Moors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Funny
Did
guy.
he have anything to say about my presentation?
Nah, they're not going to do that. Nah, not going to do that. That's a rule in the pseudo community. Never address the claim. Talk around it. Call Unc names. Ignore Sister Naya. Ignore them. Ignore Sean. Let's talk about something else. I mean, you know what? I just had to be just more humble. Sister Naya know how hard I go. And she was like, Unc, man, they just, you got to give them a break on some things. And so, I feel like giving breaks at the age of 51. But at the age of 50, I ain't feel like no breaks, right? So what I like to tell y'all is that I did 5 years in pseudo camp, all right, amongst the Nuwapians. But that got me to where I'm at now because you don't get no more pseudo than the Nuwapians. Like, man, literature on point, all that, like books, hundreds of books, all written pseudo. Like, man, that's the blueprint. If you want to be successful in actually promoting real information, use the Malachi York's method. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just wrote books. Shit ain't had to be real, but he wrote books. And so when people start to talk the pseudo thing, I'm like, man, I am well educated, right, in the way of the pseudo. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, you don't get no, that's the top. If you got levels of pseudoisms, York was at the top of that, you know what I mean, amongst black people. Now, to really want to raise the bar, you go deal with the white people who really have degrees, you know what I mean, and like archaeology and science, and they ride on that fringe to get that pseudo money because there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in pseudo money. I'm going to say this again. I can go over here, right, and I can show you pseudos that wrote good books and pseudo books. Like, let me see, real fast. Man, I give you a good one. He wrote good books and pseudo books. Let me see. Hold on, let me real quick. I should have been pulled that out. It just came to my mind. So like, if I come over here and I grab this. All right. Now, so I come in and grab this. Fingerprints of the Gods, right? By Graham Hancock. All right. Here's one. Here's another one. All right. I'm gonna show you how they do it, yo. All right. I'll show you. Right here. Message to the Sphinx. Right? By Graham Hancock and Robert Bouvelle. Now, who is Robert Bouvelle? He wrote the book. That's a good book, right? All right. Hold on. I gotta find the daggone book. Where you at, Sean?
Man, I'm right here taking notes. I actually had pulled up the National Geographic article, the one with the twins on the front of it, that a lot of people have not read or decided to purchase, which actually will help them further their studies of the April edition 2018, where they talk about a lot of things. They talk about race from a social construct, how they talk about migrational patterns of African and non-Africans. Everything that Naya already presented and that you actually have mentioned. And I believe that that's a really good magazine that people should actually have. You can go pick it up at a grocery store. Just look for it. It's a special issue of the National Geographic. And some people, will argue National Geographic is right. That's what some of that stuff that you came in on the intro with. A lot of people will try to throw that out there and say, well, National Geographics are known racist and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But that don't stop you from being scientific enough to understand the argument or get the information out of it and test it. But on
Talking about this, right, Sean?
yeah. That's what I got. I got that right here. And I got my African Times book out, your book and an anthropology book. But right there in the middle, the heart of this particular argument is a lot of things that y'all already brought out between pages 31 and 35.
Good read.
Huh?
A damn good read, bro.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And it goes over a few things. I know I don't want to say, but it's a dagger in that is going to come out probably in Big Brother Nahisi book that he's been working on. So I don't want to say too much about that, but people need to get that article and read it and try to understand it and then ask questions, especially those who are claiming that they always been here. This gives you a direct path.
Mm. So, okay. Now, that's a great goddamn magazine to read there, right? But you not only read the magazine, what you do is you get the sources out of the Natural Geographic because they are writing it off of scientific papers. And they give you the
Right.
names of these professors. And you take that and you figure out what university to go to. You do all of that. And so I talked about this Hancock, Robert Burrell, right? Hancock and Robert Burrell. They make pseudo claims in this book right here. But then he comes right back. I'm going to show you how to do it. He come right back and he write this, Black Genesis, right? The prehistoric origin of ancient Egypt. And then he come with some real scientific information on Nubia and the Potter player. And he give you the scientific dates. He don't try to stretch it. He don't do all that. He getting that money. See? So he come with this, all right? Right? He hang out with this pseudo Graham Hancock, right? They mix it up right here together. I'm showing you how they do it. Then he come right back with another PhD and write this one. This is how they get their money. All right? I'm gonna say it again. Pseudo book. All right? Pseudo book. All right? Graham Hancock. They come together, Burrell and Graham Hancock. Then he go write this.
Nah, click off the Amara screen so it'll show on Unc screen.
Hey, Naya. Did you take it off? Where you at, Naya?
There you go, Unc, you on.
All right. So, show it again. Here go Black Genesis. Look at the author's name, Robert Bovell. This is a good piece right here. Talks about Napata player, right? Talks about the star clock. He gives actual scientific data that supports his information here. He don't try to go million year this and million year that. You know, he keep it in the framework of some common sense. But he jumps out there with this. He wrote this first. The Message of the Sphinx. All right. From the bestseller, Fingerprints of the Gods, and the Orion Mystery. That's the two pseudo damn books by Graham Hancock and Robert Bovell. Look how they doing, y'all. That's how they play y'all head. Come right here, Fingerprints of the Gods, Evidence of Earth Lost Civilization. Talking crazy in this book. All that. So you really be having PhDs that want to get that pseudo money. It's a lot of money in pseudoisms, millions of dollars. And y'all can go right to Barnes and Nobles. And I've been saying it all the time. I don't know why y'all just take me up on it. And everything that these pseudos talk about, go to Barnes and Nobles, go to the New Age section, and all them books they got, you'll see it. It'll take you, go to Barnes and Nobles and see if I'm making it up or not. What's going on, brother Kofi? I'm a Raw Squad Up, Mossy Clan Warrior.
Peace, 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 peace.
So that's how they doing this. Okay? So the same thing with this whole Aborigine Native American thing. And I wouldn't even be that stressed if they wasn't denying the transcontinental kidnapping trade. That's where I drew the line. I said, I got to get in this. Right? And I can't take no mercy on nobody on this one. Not the elders, not nobody. What's going on, bro?
My piggy bank just fell missing, bro.
Oh man, how much money in that piggy bank, boy?
A bunch of money.
A bunch of money. All right, we're gonna get you another one. I'm live
Where I
there.
put all the glass at?
Brother Onyx. Oh man, put some shoes on first of all. Get your broom, sweep it up, then vacuum. Sweep up the big piece and vacuum. So, you know, hey, I cannot allow the elders to tie my hands on this. I can't, right? And you know, whew, I'll be as respectful as possible. But you know, and I know one day I'm gonna be old. And don't let me tie y'all hands. So I think I got enough people around me, you know, like Brother Kofi, Brother Sean, Sister Naya, you know what I mean? That's not gonna let me be old. Get my ass out the game. If I start throwing around crazy, out of date information, get me out the game. All right? Get them out the game. I won't be mad. All right? Get me out the game. So there's a lot of elders. As a matter of fact, I'm hard pressed to find out elders that actually agrees with Dr. Ben on the conversation of biological evolution. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, 99% of the elders do not agree with it. So you can't go to them. And it's not that they don't agree with it, it's that they don't have the time to actually study up on that. The Dr. Ben and Diops are the only ones that I know of. And John Jackson, Dr. Ben, and they the brothers that actually gave us that, right? Everybody else never really understood that. So, you know, to my understanding, I'm a Raw Squad, Masi, you know what I'm saying? Mani Shashu Metanecha. We the only groups is really thumping that for real. And some groups I'm just not gonna mention. I just refuse to. Behavior out of order. I'm not. But you know, I'm just telling y'all, man, you can't go to the elders for this one here. Because they're gonna give you some pseudo shit on the Native American thing. All right. They're not gonna give you that real deal. I mean, so I just want to let you know if your claim can get refuted in the market, your local stores, you know you're already in trouble. Right? You know you're already in trouble. So
Now,
you know,
I have a question for you on the conversation with. Sorry. I just want to make sure that the audience are clear when you are making these comments about the elders and what it is that we're talking about, because it's very, you know, at this point, kind of it's not clear. So when you say that we can't go to the elders on this issue, you're saying on the issue of science and the new information and how DNA has kind of colored the story a little more and showed us how other people left Africa and founded specific populations in Asia and Oceania and Europe. So is that what you're saying? Or are you just saying that they're stuck on we were the first people and Black people were all over the continent?
Yeah,
Could you be more clear?
Yeah, I'm saying all of that because I think we had a real good conversation. What we realized, I'm gonna let y'all know right now, the running narrative in the African American community that everybody swear you down that they Native American and they got Native American in their family. You'd be hard pressed to find one family that don't say that. Now, this is not to disrespect, right? The Africans that were kidnapped over here and mixed in with the Native American population. You have every right to claim your ancestry, right? And that's an easy one. Go get a damn DNA test. It's an easy one, right? Very easy to handle that. So that's not in disrespect because there are African Americans that actually have a family member or two that's in their DNA. Then we talked about the low percentages based off of, you know, blase, and how many two grandparents and all that. You got two grandparents on each side, you know what I'm saying, and the whole 9 yards. But there are African Americans that do have certain Native American markers. We're not talking about you know what I'm saying, bless up. We're talking about the fools that swear they was always here. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about the quote unquote elders that follow the narratives that all our family has followed, that yeah, we Native Americans and blase. But modern science has clearly showed that no, that's not the truth, right? And so this is what I like about science. You was gonna say something?
Oh, go ahead with your build. I just was gonna talk about how you was. I come back to it. I build on how we was with the Native American for 400 years, where all these stories come from us as Native Americans. It go back us being mixed in with them for 400 years. But I'll come back to that. Go ahead. I ain't mean to cut your bill.
All right, good. I'll come right to you on that one. That's a good point to build on that. We're gonna hold that right there. So, all right, basically, you know what I'm saying? The elders are stuck with that, right? Just be mad at me. I love the elders, right? What I'm saying is that you're not gonna tie my hands, right? If you swear that Unc is wrong and you swear that the Amaral squad is wrong, right? Then step the hell up. Step up. Step up to the plate and prove your premise. I think the conversation is a beautiful conversation. And I don't have a problem with beating the brakes off of that one. I don't have a problem with that. And if I'm found to be wrong, I will issue official apology that y'all right. But you're not going to get me with the lookership. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get me with the hollership. You're not going to get me with the eldership where you just make me, I can't say nothing. I'm never going to disrespect the elders, but I'm never going to allow the next generation, right, to be stifled, their growth stifled. There is more information out there now, right? So I'm letting y'all know the majority of the elders do not understand biological evolution. They don't. And this is a biological evolution question when you talk about peoples in America. It's going down. But go ahead, brother Kofi, get right into that point. We talk about how everybody claimed they was Native Americans. Where are all the source of these stories? Where are they coming from?
Well, a lot of the sources come from, if you go back and you look at here, you had the Portuguese that were here, you had the French that were here, you had Spain that was here. So if you go back to I can't think of the Portuguese brother name. He was an explorer that explored with Christopher Columbus or Christopher Colon, and he went into Puerto Rico. Then he went into what we call Florida. He went into Florida in 1513. He came back in 1521 with a bunch of our ancestors and colonized that area when you had a group of Native American tribes that was already there in the region. So you had in 1521 these Portuguese that brought in 100 Africans into this area. We mixed at that point of time in the 1600s with the Native Americans, and actually we didn't alliance ourselves with the Native Americans at that time because the Portuguese didn't want us to alliance ourselves with them. And then if you go back and you look at, we revolted with the Native Americans later on due to some of the, hold on one second, son, stop the beating. Excuse me, y'all. So, but from the 1500s, and then when you get to the 1600s, they tried to, well, the 1500s, when this Portuguese explorer came in and he tried to colonize the whole Florida, what we call the Florida area now. He tried to build different settlements at this point of time, but you had the Native Americans that were coming in. Then you had a lot of our ancestors ran off of the plantation to help these group of Native Americans. I think they was called the Kakapupu tribe. And then you had the British that was fighting over the land. You had Florida and Georgia. Georgia was owned by Britain, and Britain was fighting over Florida at this particular time. So, but anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but if you go to the 1600s, and then you had another Portuguese individual that came in, and he actually, during the 1600s, he brought in more slaves. We intertwined with those slaves, and then you had the Portuguese and British still trying to fight in the early 1700s, and then Spain came up with San Augusta, what we call Saint Augusta, Florida, made it a safe haven for Africans who escaped South Carolina and Georgia, that swampland area. We went into uh, Florida. We escaped Georgia and South Carolina and went into Florida. So we had already been with them in the 15th, the 16th century, and then the 17th century. Every Native American that came into St. Augusta or came into Fort Moss, they called the Spain called those individuals Seminoles. The British called those people Seminoles, no matter if you was an African that came into St. Augusta, if you was a Native American who came into Florida that was a safe haven at that particular time, you was called a Seminole. We know, and during that period of time, they came up with these 5 civilized tribes: the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Seminole, and the Creek, which were the wickedest. They started giving Native Americans, Africans as slaves. So the Native Americans started owning us. We started inhabiting more with the Native Americans. So when you get to the 17th century, you start seeing us adapting a lot of the Native American cultures. We started adapting not only the Native American, but we started adapting the Spain culture as well. We started adapting the British culture as well, because when British and Spain was fighting in South, were not fighting, were fighting for the land in St. Augusta or St. Moss, what we call Florida. When the British came in at that particular time, we started adapting some of their ways as well. So we adopted a lot of the Native American, but we have been with the Native American for over 400 some years. You get to the Seminole War. The Seminole War One, we was already owned by the 4 civilized tribes who already adopted Christianity, who have already adopted some of their bylaws and constitution, as a lot of the Europeans, specifically Spain, in Great Britain, they actually owned slaves. It wasn't in a particular fashion as the European owned slaves. We only just had to pay tribunal, but we adopted a lot of the Native American culture in the 15th to 16th, specifically in the 17th century. And then you get to the Seminole War. We fought with the Native American against the European, where we fought against America trying to take Spain, trying to take Florida away from Spain. The Second Seminole War, it actually was not a Native American war, even though the Native American fought with us, but it was an African war, because America wanted our ancestors back enslaved amongst them, even though we were slaved by the Native American. So from the 15th to 16th, I can keep going, but I don't want to be long-winded. But from the 15th century, from the first Portuguese explorer coming and colonizing Florida or San Augusta in 1521, this is when we first encountered the Native American, and we lived with the Native American from 1521 all the way up until the 19th century. So we've been amongst the Native American for 400 some years. And even when you go back to the Cherokee, a lot of us will say that we come outside of the family as Cherokee. Side of your family is Cherokee because you might have been enslaved by what we call the 5 civilized Native Americans: the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Creek, and the Seminole tribe. But even when you get to that, a lot of the Native Americans, they didn't even consider us to be Native Americans, even though we attach ourselves to their cultures, and we say we are Native American. We have Native American in our family. We wasn't even considered a Native American. The only way I would be considered a Native American if or an Indian from a Cherokee or whatever tribe that these Indian tribes, I will have to marry a Native American woman, a Cherokee or a Chickasaw, or a Choctaw, or a Creek, or a Seminole, or Tamaku, or Cockapoo, or all these other different poo-poo, Native American tribes. In order for me to be considered a citizen or a member of this tribe, I had to give birth. I wouldn't be a member, but my child would be a member of the Cherokee or the Chickasaw or the Choctaw, only because I gave birth. The birth came through the womb of a Native American, so my child will be considered a Choctaw, but I wouldn't be considered a Choctaw. But I'm not gonna be long-winded, but I just wanted to break down that a lot of those stories and a lot of the Native American cultures and how we encountered a lot of these individuals because of from the 15th century all the way up into the 19th century, us being amongst the Native American. But it's more to what I'm talking about. But that's briefly a little summary.
Well, you got a whole presentation on the Mossy, man. Make sure y'all go over there and look at that presentation, man. That's some good work right there. On that piece right there.
Right, because it's important, because people have to understand
facts.
Again where the myth comes in in terms of our Native American Cherokee ancestry. That's a long time to be amongst a culture. You said between 1521 and 1900. And so we
Long
were
time.
amongst these Native Americans. We were, some of us, enslaved by these Native Americans. And so it makes sense that we adopted the psychology, and we have folklore and narratives that tell us that we're Native American. But within the context of science and history and our culture, is important for the African mind that we bring substance and context to the conversation and not just withdraw from being African just because we spent this time with Native Americans. So thank you for that, Brother Kufu. That was an excellent brief history of our time in America. So go ahead, Unc. I'm sorry for.
So let me go to chat room. Let y'all know I ain't running. I ain't hiding. Let me read this. Leap the guy. Okay, he says at I'm Raw Squad Media. Back in the you want to say back in the day, did you show the link between the Olmec burial rituals and the Jaguar pictograph, or do you retract that info? I absolutely retract that info, and I did show that. I showed the burial customs that like you'll see in Mesoamerica, you see what you perceive to be like the open of the mouth ceremony, right? And then you go to Kemet and see the same thing where they're holding this wand in their hand and putting it to the person's mouth. You see those same things, right? But here's something real for you, right? That's the only thing I got. You can't stand on one thing. We don't do the one thing scholarship around here. So I had to grow up, and I had to just, you know what I'm saying? I had to just, that's not enough. That is not enough right there. One item is not enough, man. So yes, I did say it, and that's what I'm saying. We grow around here. What I said 15 years ago might not fly today, and that's the same as science. So 15 years ago, they ain't have the human genome was mapped when? About 15 years ago, right? No, 2003. Either June 14th or July 14th, 2003, the human genome was mapped out. So, you know, things you thought was such certain ways ain't. When you come to this book right here, first of all, this book right here, African Presence in Early America by Ivan Van Sertima. This is the one most y'all need. Y'all need to read that. Y'all don't read that. Y'all don't read this. Y'all read They Came Before Columbus. All right, he showed a lot of things in here. All right. But even with this, it's still based off the good old-fashioned eyeball test. You know what I'm saying? So you deal with this skin, nature, the natural history, Skin of Natural History by Nina Dabrowski. You know what I'm saying? She give you the evolutionary understanding of skin. Right? Yeah. If you don't understand that, what's going on, brother Nahisi?
What's going on? I was just saying that's an excellent one right there.
Yeah, so if you don't understand skin, then you're gonna always get beat up by this. You ain't gonna get it. You're gonna think that. This is the eyeball test right here. All right, this is more scientific to it. You want to add something to that, brother Nahisi, about the skin?
When it comes, yeah, I'll add that. We have to look when the Native Americans crossed that Bering Strait, where people would say that they were in. They remained that they kept their dark skin because it had something to do with their diet, but they also kept dark skin because we're dealing with UVA rays. UVA rays are known to penetrate the skin all the way down to the hypodermis. You have your epidermis, your dermis, and your hypodermis, your 3 layers of skin, which you also have like 5 different layers on top, on the bottom of the epidermis. But the UVA rays can penetrate all the way down to the hypodermis. They needed protection from the sun. So they got dark skin from that. And what it is a thing called a reflectometer. UVA rays reflect back off the sun and back off of the ocean waters, the seas that they were on. And that is brought up in Nina Dabrowski's book. I think that's on page 75 there, where she explains that. That's why they held on to their dark skin, and also eating high foods that containing you know, with salmon and stuff like that. So that's how they kept their dark skin. Don't get it confused with Iceland, because some people say, well, how did they stay white? Alaska takes in more daylight than other places do. So they are constantly being hit with UVA rays. And also it sits at a higher altitude. So that's why. So they are getting hit with UVA ray, and that's how they maintain the dark skin.
Yeah, you can also read the article on the Inuit people and how they kept their color. I think that's important too,
Yeah.
you know, based off the diets. So yeah, I see you in there, Aboriginal TV. Yo, you crazy. Yo got a your picture is a daggone redskin logo. God damn, boy, I try to tell you, man. Come on, man. All right. So basically, you gotta understand evolution in this argument, because if you don't, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get beat up. Okay. It says, okay, right here it says, are we really using climate for melanin? So yeah, Nahisa, you right there. You said page 75 is really page 76. You right there though.
Oh,
You there.
okay, okay.
You
Page
there.
off.
You on it. You on it. And it's color. The chapter 6 is talking about color, right? So this is what I want to do. I want to do this for you. Yeah, we talking about climate and skin color. You're damn right. Let me read this on page 79. She goes on to say, what my colleagues and I have learned in our own research on evolution of skin color is that melanin levels in the skin represent a compromise, which has been struck by evolution through natural selection. It says, this conclusion in itself is not new. What is new is the establishment of causal relationships between levels of pigmentation and human reproductive success. Reproduction success, survival to reproductive age, successful reproduction, and the survival of offspring is the basis of natural selection and the final arbiter of evolution. In the past, most explanations for the evolution of dark skin focused on the protection it afforded from UVR effects that were detrimental to health, but that did not necessarily affect reproduction. For example, sunburn, sun-related skin degeneration, and skin cancer. But these effects cannot be evoked as the primary drivers in the evolution of dark skin because they have little impact on the individual's reproduction ability. Because reproductive success is what evolution is all about. Adaptive explanations for a given trait must demonstrate some reproductive benefit. There you go. There you have it. Page 79 to 78. Get the daggone book and go ahead and refute the white lady's work. Gina Dabrowski, go ahead and defeat that. What you can't do is you can't crack jokes, you can't holler copper color, you can't do all that. You can't do it. You gotta refute this. See, this is a very, very serious topic, and it speaks to what Sister Nia was talking about. It speaks to what Brother Kofi is talking about. It speaks to absolutely what Sean is talking about. It just speaks to everything that we're saying here. Y'all don't have no information to refute it. Y'all just don't. And it's a shame. I'm sitting here, I'm looking in the chat room, I'm looking at the response on certain videos, and I'm gonna read it later on, and it just don't make no daggone sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, all I'm saying is, don't leave us out there. If y'all got something for real that the white man didn't teach us, y'all really got that, man, where that homework at? I'm willing to change my position. I ain't stuck in no position.
Yeah. And also, I just want to just go back to the science behind it so people can see what Nahisi was saying regarding the pigmentation and how they kept their pigmentation. And so one of the things that people have to understand, and I'm gonna bring my map up there again so y'all can see it because I love maps, is when M went into Saudi Arabia, this is where the SLC 485 developed. It developed in Saudi Arabia. They took that into Europe, not into Asia, into Europe. So Europeans went over to the left. You see the IJKTUVWHOX. They took that gene mutation they developed right here in the middle to Europe, not to Asia. This when the group that went to went towards Asia, they developed other mutations like hair and the thick hair and the mongoloid, but that the mutation for white skin developed over here in Europe. So everybody in Asia, Z, A, C, D, G, Y, they don't have that LC485 gene. They don't have that. Only these guys over here in Europe. So they had a rich diet in fish and environmental, even if they were in the cold, like Nahisi was saying, they get a lot of sunlight. So it really didn't matter. So you guys got to understand the haplogroups and the science, because then that makes your story much more scientific, because now you see that N goes all the way up into Europe, and that's where they carry that mutation where they develop the white skin, not in Asia, not in the Americas. So that's why Native Americans and Aboriginals have dark skin. The Aboriginals have dark skin because they was below the equator, and the natives have the dark skin because they never mutated. They never took that gene into this part of Asia. So I just wanted to give you guys a visual on that, just in case.
What? We can introduce you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the email is hold on, let me say this. AmonRawSquad9@gmail.com. Send me what you got. Go ahead, brother.
Now I was reading Joseph Greer's comment. He said he could introduce us to descendants of chiefs. I don't think that he still understand what everybody's been talking about if he's still saying that. Because what we're presenting is information that actually will put you into perspective. And your chiefs, people who are descendants of chiefs. I mean, we could be descendants of chiefs. What does that mean? You know,
It don't make
it still does.
Kofi just
Exactly.
he just said it. I mean, you know what? It's just at a certain point. I mean, the rest of the panel might not say it, but I'm gonna call you dumb. Cause you dumb if I'm sitting here saying you gotta refute the DNA evidence, you gotta refute the paleontology, you gotta refute the anthropology, right? And if you just keep saying the same thing, you're not comprehending. At a certain point, I'm thinking you just dumb, meaning that you don't even need to be in the conversation because your comprehension skills ain't there. Like, I understand when you say that we have people that descended from chiefs. You're simply saying that somebody, you know what I'm saying, messed with somebody that was the damn chief. That's all you're saying. That ain't proving your indigenousness. That's not proving that. It's proving that somebody from African descent made it with with a chief, or a chief brother, or a chief cousin. That's all that means. So I'm clear in understanding what you are saying. Now, what you're not understanding is when I say it took over 100,000 years to walk to the Americas based off of the fossil record, right? That you're going through different environments. Y'all act like a nigga just got up and started running. Ran over here and got here. Really? You act like you had some kind of melanin power that kind of knocked down the trees and the bushes and paved the roads in front of you. Come on, man. That's not real life, real world. You really think somebody in 100,000 years ago jumped in a damn boat and went across the mighty Atlantic? You really think that? Yeah, I know you do. But y'all the ones that ain't never been on a real ship before. A raft, a float device is different from a ship going across the mighty damn Atlantic. It's a whole different ball of wax. All right. So man, I'm clear in understanding what you're saying is the problem is the comprehension skills ain't listening to what I'm saying.
Somebody in the chat room said that I was wrong. The white gene evolved in Russia.
The what?
Someone in the chat room, Amari Khan, said that I was wrong, that the SLC gene developed in Russia. So I just want to challenge Amara, what's his name? Amaru Khan, to bring evidence that the SLC gene developed in Russia. It did not develop in Russia. It developed in the Middle East area, and they took it into Europe and not Russia. You look at indigenous Russian people, they are dark skinned and they look like Asians. Those would be people who crossed the Bering Strait and went into the Alaska. So the problem is that you're trying to make up a alternative history and you don't know all the facts. You got to get the facts so you can be better informed to create the proper narrative. Anybody who's ever been in Russia know that indigenous Russian people look like Asians, dark-skinned, brown-skinned people. If you look at the ancient people of Alaska, they all look the same as the ones in that area in Siberia. They don't look like white men. The white men are recent. That the people you see in Russia today, that's a recent migration into Russia from Europe. So I just wanted to just clarify. Brother can email me at nayaamara.com or nayaamara@gmail.com and show me where the SLC gene originated in some goddamn Russia.
Well, first of all, you got more than one gene responsible for skin color. You have some genes that was some pale skin genes that occurred outside of Africa, but the oldest such gene dealing with pale skin, it starts in Africa first. I challenge anybody, you know what I'm saying, to get past that.
Yeah, the gene that starts in Africa is the HERT gene and the ORC gene. Those genes aren't white genes in Africa, though. They make your skin dark. In Europe, SLC makes your skin white. So, yeah.
Phone went out. Where you at, Nahisi?
I'm right here. Huh?
Yeah, what's the gene in Africa, yo, with pale skin? Which one?
It's not a pale skin gene. It's the HERT gene. It's HRC gene, and it's the ORT2 gene. There's no pale skin gene in Africa.
I bet you a penny.
I bet you $100 it's not.
Nope, I'm gonna bet you a penny because I don't want to take your money.
It's the HERT gene. That's what it's called. HERC gene. It's not a pale skin gene. The pale skin is the SLC gene.
So this is how we're gonna do this. Go ahead, Nahisi. Am I right or wrong? I could be wrong.
What, dealing with the light gene? I know what she's talking about is the HERC gene, the HERC, and the OCA1. That's in Africa.
Right. Those are white genes, though. Those genes make us dark. In the absence of those genes, you get light skin.
Hold on. Hey, Nahisi, do they have a light skin color gene in Africa? Yes or no?
No.
I ain't asked you. I know what you're gonna say.
The gene is HERC2 gene, just look it up.
Hey, listen, come on, yo. What show was we on? I put up the article. Come on with that. And you lost it. Huh? Where that article at? Hold on. You didn't throw me off my square now.
Well, the SLC gene mutated. It mutated from the HRC2 gene. So without the HERC2 gene, you couldn't have the SLC gene. So the original gene is in Africa, the HERT gene. But outside of Africa, it's the SLC gene. But the SLC gene is not in Africa, other than if it's there as a result of a back migration. But
I agree with that part. But wait,
yeah, it mutated. Oh, it started in Saudi Arabia in the middle. That's where it mutated at. So when when the Africans left Africa, they encountered a different environment, food, such and such, and they had that mutation, and they carried it into Europe. And then the climate, because of the diet and the lack of sun, they developed the SLC gene. But you don't see the SLC gene in Africa. It's the HERC gene, HERC2 gene, and the R2. So you don't have that.
You need to keep talking so I can find this for you.
Okay. Any questions in the chat room while Unc find his daggers to throw at me?
I ain't doing it. I ain't gonna do that.
So, white skin. Any questions in the chat?
I'll tell you one mistake is that people make is that albinism, right, is really a disease, and it's not the pale skin gene. It's close, but it's not.
Yeah, it's like one position away from the SLC gene. So the pale skin. So we do have the pale skin, the albino gene. That's the ORC gene, but it's not the SLC gene, which is way different. One something away from albinoism. I can't even say it. I'm getting tired.
All right, so here's the article right here.
Hold on. Before you say, hold on.
All right, good. Go ahead.
42, here you go again. 42 says that the SLC genes produce, hold on, let me go back. He said produce, and then he says it comes before something. I'm trying to find it. Oh, he says the SLC predate humans.
He said, what? Hold on, what'd he say? Hold on, whoa. 42 tribes, that's the man. What'd he say? What'd he say?
Yeah. Hey man, he been on that Mindy stuff. I don't know about him lately.
No, what'd he say?
He said the SLC predates humans.
Yeah, he right. Yeah, he's pale fish.
He's correct with that.
He right, Sean. Think about that.
Yeah, no. I get what he's saying, but the way he said it, the SLC genes produce albinism in animals. He's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And which animals? And mammals?
You mean tiger fish to zebrafish, right? 42 tribes zebrafish, right?
I think he said zebrafish earlier.
He said tiger fish. I ain't know about the tiger. I knew about the zebrafish. I ain't know about the tiger fish. Let me write about that. Yeah. And we laughed because we felt like laughing. Shit. Hell wrong with y'all in that chat room. Hell. All right. So right here, new gene variants reveal the evolution of human skin color. Remember I broke that out before. Now you ignored me.
All right.
Let me do
Go
it.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
It says most, and if I start stumbling and stammering, don't worry about it, y'all, because that's what I do sometimes.
Okay.
Most people associate Africans with dark skin, but different groups of people in Africa have almost every skin color on a planet, from the deepest black in the Dignesh of South Sudan to Bridge and Sand of South Africa. They say now researchers have discovered a handful of new gene variants responsible for the palette of tones. The study, published in online Week in Science, traces the evolution of these genes and how they traveled around the world. While dark skin of some Pacific Islanders can be traced to Africa, gene variants from Eurasia also seem to have made their way back to Africa. That's what you talked about, Naya. They say, and surprisingly, some of the mutations responsible for lighter skin in Europeans turn out to have an ancient African origin. That's what I'm talking about. Let me keep going. This is really a landmark study of skin color diversity, says geneticist Greg Barsh. Look him up. Greg Barsh of the Hudson Alpha Institute for Biotechnology in Huntsville, Alabama. Researchers agreed that our early Australopithecine ancestors in Africa probably had light skin beneath their hairy pelts. What they're saying is that dark hair actually block out the UVA rays. So it would be no need for those Australopithecines that have dark skin. It's not till we lost our hair, right, that we start to develop dark pigmentation. And keep going. If you shave a chimpanzee, his skin is light, says evolutionary geneticist Sarah Tiskoff of the University of Pennsylvania, the lead authority of the new study. It say if you have body hair, you don't need dark skin, okay, to protect you from the ultraviolet radiation. Until recently, researchers assumed that after human ancestors shed most of their body hair, somewhere between 2 million years ago, they quickly evolved dark skin for protection from skin cancer and other harmful effects of UVA radiation. It say then when humans migrated out of Africa and headed to far north, they evolved lighter skin as an adaptation, right, to limited sunscreen. This is what Diop's talked about. He was on that. Pale skin synthesize more vitamin D when light is scarce. That's a different article. Here we go. Previous research on skin color genes fit that picture. For example, depigmentation gene called SLC24A5 linked to pale skin swept through European population in the past 6,000 years. Okay, but Tinzoff team found that the story of skin color evolution isn't so black and white. Her team, including African researchers, so they got African researchers, right, not just white people, used a light meter to measure skin reflection, right, in 2,092 people in Ethiopia, Tanzania, Botswana. It say they found the darkest skin in the Nilo-Saharan pastoralist population in East Africa, such as the Mursi and Sumar, the Suruma, and the lighter skin in the sand of Southern Africa, as well as many shades in between, as in the Agwa people of Ethiopia. They say at the same time, they also collected blood samples from genetic studies. They sequenced more than 4 million single nucleotide polymers, that's SNPs, places where a single letter of the gene code varies across the genome of 1,570 of these Africans. They say they found 4 key areas in the genome, right, where specific SNPs correlate with skin color. Now, the first surprise was that SLC24A5, which swept Europe, is also common in East Africa, found in as many as half the members, some Ethiopian groups. This variant arose 30,000 years ago and was probably brought to East Africa by people migrating from the Middle East. That's what you talked about, right? Tinoff says, but though many East Africans have these genes, they did not have white skin. It's probably because it is just one of several genes that shape their skin color. All right. Now, this is the gene you were talking about. Let's see. It says the team also found variants of 2 neighboring genes. That's the hard gene, right? The HERC2 and the OCA2, which are associated with light skin, eyes, and hair in European, but arose in Africa. That's what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about the OCA2 and the HERC2. It is associated with light skin and light eyes. You hear what I'm saying, Naya?
Right.
Let me finish, though. The team proposed that the variants arose in Africa as early as 1 million years ago, and spread later to Europeans and Asians. Many of the gene variants that cause light skin in Europe have origins in Africa. Yeah, all right, what? Give me my penny.
Right.
My penny, though.
Right.
Give me my penny. Can I get my penny?
Right. That didn't agree with you. Agreed with me.
What?
So
What'd you say?
I said that's exactly what I said.
No, you didn't.
I did say I said the hurt. So the gene that is the gene that is associated with skin color is the HERC gene, HERC2, and then the OCA2. Those genes are found in Africans. Now the SLC4A5.
What did you say?
Listen, I just let you read the whole thing. You gotta let me read it. You gotta let me talk. I can't get through it if you don't let me talk. I'm just explaining exactly what I said. I said the HERC. Are you gonna let me talk?
You called the heart. You called it. You said it ain't like though. You said that. I
mean, the HERC gene. No, but we're not talking about light gene. The white gene is SLC24A5. That's a white gene. That's not a light gene. That's the white gene.
I'm talking about light skin. That's what I was talking about. Maybe we're talking about two separate things. We can move forward. We can get off that then. We were talking about two separate things.
Okay.
All right. I want my penny though.
Okay.
All right. So, all right. The hell, we done got way off the goddamn course. Where the hell?
No, it makes sense because you got to know because it's important because it's a lot of information. Like, you know, when you look at the migration patterns, what Nahisi was saying about why the people were still dark skinned over there off the Bering Strait and in the Americas is because they were carrying genes from Africa that had not yet from those genes over there in Europe. So that, I mean, it makes sense. You just got to kind of put all the pieces together. So, you know, plus we gave you some education on the HERC gene and the OC2 gene. Those are important genes to know, as well as the SLC24A5, which is in the SLC gene is in Africa, but not the 2485 part of it. So I just want to clarify that.
The what? What'd you say? I ain't listening.
I said that. You didn't hear me?
I ain't listening to you.
Okay. Ignore me. We've been on for a long time.
Hold on. What's this? Hold on. The most dramatic discovery concerned a gene known as the MFSD12. Two mutations that decrease expression of this gene was found in high frequency in people with the darkest skin. These variants arose 500,000 years ago. That's deep. So you got to help express the damn genes. And that's
so we got the light. So listen, we got the light skin gene and we got the white skin gene.
Are you stupid? Yeah, it's not pale skin though. You're right. It's not pale skin. If I said I was pale skin, I was in error. I was saying light skin, but I could have.
Yeah, so I must have just, if you said light skin, that's right, but not pale skin, white people. That's what I was talking about.
No. That was so you do have three types of albinos too. I want y'all to know that. Different gene expression and albinonism is a gene. Now in the chat room, the brother say, pull up the email. All right, man. We're gonna pull up your groundbreaking information here, man.
But wait a minute, while you're pulling that up, I just want to say a lot of times the people who claim to be Aboriginal, the first Americans, they claim to be the first Americans because of their skin color. So they're looking at their skin color and they're saying that they're non-pale people, they're non-white people, and then they're even calling the Native Americans pale people. So they're saying that the first Americans were Black because of their skin color alone. They're not considering the fact that the people who went over through the Bering Strait, they maintained their dark skin because of their diet and other factors, but they were still non-Black people. So I think that we got to understand. That makes sense?
Oh, man.
Did you get that, Uncle? Are you listening to me?
Yeah, I got it. And yo, send me a picture, right, to speak to the very thing you just talked about.
Okay.
All right, man. So he said checkmate. Aboriginal. Let me. All right. I want to show everybody how you checkmated me. Let's see here. Send me some pictures. Hold on, I'm gonna show everybody. I'm gonna show y'all. He sent me some pictures. This was the great checkmate, I guess. All right. There you go. Y'all see that? I ain't gonna laugh, yo. What the hell?
I'm sorry, but I am.
What did you say? Hold on, let me see. Trying to figure out what he's trying to do here.
Gosh, the Lord, my Lord.
All right.
Whew, damn, he got look at that braid, boy. That braid is serious. That man, my blowing.
Screen now. Click on screen.
Okay.
That's from that book. What's that book? It's 2 volumes to that book.
What, this book?
That picture he got it from. That's the one that it's a old book when they were trying to categorize humans like that. It's an old book. I got the book.
Yeah,
Is this really the picture he sent you? Is this the evidence?
yeah, this the evidence, yo. I'm saying, I mean, how the hell that make? Come on, man. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. Let me go back. Hold on, man. I don't want to shortchange the guy, man. But this is what I'm trying to talk about, man. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm trying to work with you, dude. I don't want to beat y'all up like this. Here go the second America. What the hell is this, man? I ain't gonna laugh, yo. I ain't gonna do it, yo, because he was
Hold
serious.
on, because he's talking while you're demonstrating. He's saying, I have lineage records. Thank you, historical document in the museum. Hold on. He says
What?
he's I don't know, his comments coming through slow, but I guess he's trying to say this is supposed to be his family. I don't know. Is Spencer Wells your primary?
Now, I'm not gonna believe that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna believe that.
Okay, so
I'm not gonna believe. I'm not gonna believe that you sent me pictures of your family. I'm not gonna believe. Brother,
Wait a minute.
Hey, he
We
said,
got to deal with this picture. What did he give you an explanation on who these people were?
no, it's just a bunch of people fired the hell no.
saying that there's a historical documented that there is a difference. A difference in what, man?
All right, let me do this, man. Like, come on, y'all.
Those are old pictures from old research, and that one comes out the book America you showing there. But the one where it had like the 5 figures, it's like when they were dealing with the outline of history, that book, and they were dealing with the races of mankind. Let me turn my camera on.
All right, let me get it. Man.
That's how they were depicting them during them times.
I mean, but that doesn't get around the skin color part, though.
No, it doesn't get around the skin color. Hey, I made a mistake. That page is page 92 from Nina Jabraski's book, Skin.
Oh, all right. But you said color, though, and that's the chapter color, though. The page you gave, talking about color, you was right. It was a color.
Yeah, but this one right here, can I read this little section here?
Of course you can, Nazy. Glad to hear you say read, goddammit.
All right, she says it's interesting that the natural selection pressure towards lighter skin apparently relaxes because of their diet. Eskimos have evolved darker skin to protect themselves from high levels of UVA that reflect on them from snow, ice, and open water. And that's page 92, right in the middle paragraph towards the end.
Oh, shit. Got him. Dang.
So when they were eating the diet, it relaxed the pressure so the environmental pressure did not affect them. So, but they kept the dark skin because of the UVA rays and the reflection. So they were getting double dosage of the sun because the reflection of UVA rays, when it reflects off the sun, water and all that, it's almost like 92%.
Dang. Oh, man.
And if anybody has ever went skiing, like in because I lived in Colorado also, being a military brat, if you walked outside, the snow would damn near blind you.
Hell yeah.
Hey,
and you could get sunburned in the snow.
He said he sent you those pictures because it shows melanated people being called Americans, and that's his checkmate.
All right, yo. You know what, man? All right, yo. If you think if that's what that is, I'm trying to find it.
No, but what they got to understand, the SLC 2485 gene did not come into effect till 6 to 10,000 years. We talking about people who crossed over within 15,000 years. So of course they're gonna be dark.
Hmm. Say that again. Say that again, Nahisi. Nahisi, say that again.
Please say
Say
that
that
Put that
again.
together again. Hold on. Everybody freeze. We have a moment here. We have
Say that
one of those
again.
moments of clarity here. This is what we're gonna do. Right? The brother just said something very, very clear. We read articles talking about the pale gene occurring at around 6,000 years. Did we not just read that whole damn thing? Did we not just read that?
Yes.
Hold on. Hold on. Freeze it. Freeze it. Okay.
So dramatic.
Freeze that shit. This one of the moments, man. I read all that shit. I'm glad I read it too. Glad I stumbled through it. Where is that? Here it go. I'm gonna show y'all. This is what we're gonna do for y'all. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it like this. All right. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna let Brother Nahisi read it. Right. We're gonna verify his point. Now, my man with the funny picture, right? He talked about, our ancestors had skin color. Now, y'all see this article right here, right?
I can't see it. It
Eugene
got me
Burns.
presenting.
Can you see it?
It got me presenting.
Or you got to
No,
unpresent?
How did I unpresent?
we can see it. We can see it. Go ahead.
All right. New gene variants reveal evolution of human skin color, right? October 17th, 2017. Let's come to the highlighted portions right here. You want to read that, Naya?
Jesus.
All right.
Go ahead and read it, Nahisi.
Previous research on skin color genes fit that picture. For example, a depigmentation gene called the SLC 2485 linked to pale skin swept through Europe population in the past 6,000 years. That's basically what I said.
Yep. So all right, bro. So if somebody was over here 13,000, 12,000 years, bro, ago, right? What the pale gene wasn't even in effect yet. Come on, man. It can't be this damn easy.
It's easy. They make it complicated.
Come on, man. So come on with that, man. All right, so I got a book. 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 And this book is called, let me take this off. Let me stop screen sharing real fast. All right. And just stop. You're presenting. We don't want to present anymore. We're done with presenting.
Oh, you don't want to present no more?
No. Dang.
And also the Asians have that EDR gene too, that hair gene. That's why they don't have that I'm not gonna say kinky hair, but that curl, that tight curl, because they developed another mutation.
Yeah. And that's another important part. It's the EDAR gene, the ethyl receptacle plasma A. The reason they developed that is because of the UVA rays, which does affect down to the hypodermis, which affects hair follicles. So that was a mutation that was taking place that helped them with the environment.
Can y'all see this book?
Right. So they wouldn't have in Europe, not in Europe, but in Americas, they wouldn't have needed. I mean, Africans develop our skin pigmentation in Africa, so our hair was a little different than the hair and the skin pigmentation in Americans because of the environment. Okay, that's a good point, Nahisi. Go ahead, Unc. I'm sorry.
Y'all see the book right here?
Yes.
Atlas Mirror. So when you come to America, and Amerique, right? Look how they show the Native Americans. Look. Sure as hell ain't looking white, is they? So I don't think that's no dream or they hide that. They ain't hiding that. that they wasn't, they was browner. They ain't hiding that, right? That's some of the native population, a little couple different complexions. It's all right here. So in America.
Check out the hair. Look at the hair too. The wavy hair.
See? So ain't nobody like that. Ain't no damn secret. What y'all talking about, man? They ain't hide that. Yeah, like that, they hid that. They ain't nobody hide. Christopher Columbus said when he came over here, he seen people with a darker complexion. Christopher, it's in his note, he said it. Okay, but hell, Christopher Columbus didn't know nothing about the goddamn skin color map. He was only going off what he knew. He did the same shit y'all doing today, the good old-fashioned eyeball test. And I'm telling you, you can't use good old-fashioned eyeball test. Now watch, if you look at me right now, I'm definitely darker. Do y'all see that? Catch me in the wintertime, I'm lighter. My skin fluctuates. All right? I'm looking real brown right about now. Catch me in the wintertime, right? So when Christopher Columbus, depending on when he came over here, because the zone 2 skin fluctuates, right? He would have seen browner people. Or lighter people, depending on the time of the year. We pull up the skin map religiously around here. And it talks about people in zone 2. You know what I'm saying? So, man, come on, bro. Y'all gotta do better than that. You gotta do better than that.
And the equator isn't just in Africa.
He said, what?
I got a question.
The equator is not just in Africa.
Oh yeah, that's dumb.
Right.
The guy says that when he emailed you sourced pictures. He are saying that these pictures were sourced. And I don't think that he understands what he actually emailed you.
What? You sent me some pictures, man.
Yeah, but he's trying to say that they come from a museum and that you needed to read them. That
it ain't nothing to read, dude. You sent me a picture with no words on it, yo. All right, let me read this. Let me download. Hold on. Let me read it, yo.
Can I say something about Christopher Columbus while you're downloading the sources?
Yeah.
It's important to understand like history pre the Americas, because you have to understand that Christopher Columbus, the Portuguese, and the Spaniards, they were in Africa 100 years before, or their ancestors were in Africa 100 years before they even got to the Americas. So they knew what Africans look like, and they knew what Black people look like. If they would have came to the Americas and saw Africans, they would have documented, oh, we see more Africans, because they have been going back and forth, Northwest African, trying to enter into the inland part of Africa to trade with African kingdoms. And also they were trading various items. So they knew what Africans look like. They had been around Black people for hundreds of years. So when Christopher Columbus got to the Americas, they would have known that those people were African. They wouldn't have called them Tawny or those other things. They would have called them Black Africans.
Right.
There was no reason, because you got to think about it, the Portuguese and the Spaniards at that time, they were infatuated with Africans. They had no reason to say that these people were not African, because they had been in Africa already.
That's fact. That's fact.
That's the key point of it all. You got to think about it. But before them coming into the continent in the 1400s, you can go back to the 11th century, where you see the people in New Guinea being traded by the Moors to the Spanish. So yeah, they were very familiar with who the Africans were since the 11th century, and prior to that. So it's no mistaking on what they identify with. They know the difference. When they came into the continent and started traveling around, and when the technology broke and they were able to sail back north, because they couldn't sail back north prior to the invention of that technology that helped them break through them ships to get them further out into along the coast. Because remember, they only traveled along the coastline and not out actually in the Atlantic until that technology could get them back up.
So I mean, I
The
thought,
Aboriginals are working on a lot of false premises and assumptions about history and what was going on. And I understand because it's a lot of information, but you gotta start you gotta start earlier so you can see their psychology and their mindset of the people selling to America. You know, they understood what Africans were. They were not confused that the Native Americans were not Negro. They would have said it. They would have been happy to grab them and take them. They wouldn't have had a problem. Even when you look at when they colonized South America, the first thing they did was they took the women. They didn't have a problem mixing with the women. It wasn't until the Brits came, they practiced a different type of racism. But the Portuguese and the other ones, they mixed and they assimilated with the indigenous people.
so we are all Africans. I'm not disputing that. After the world was migrated, the people took on different features and traits, a.e. Aboriginal Americans. All right. Y'all don't even know who the chief was. Y'all don't even know who the chiefs were. So how y'all debating what you never even researched? God damn it, God damn it, God damn it.
Right,
Damn it.
but we created the timeline. We created a timeline for you.
Hold on, Naya. God damn it, God damn it. I don't gotta know who the damn chief was. Whoever the hell the damn chief was, he wasn't a sub-Saharan African, god damn it. Oh, shit, man.
Maybe they missed the point when we talked about the colonization of America happened between 1400. Like, so everyone in America came from somewhere. So them chiefs came from somewhere. They didn't evolve in America. We know they came from parts of Asia. So I mean, it doesn't matter who they are. You have to know the history of America first, and then you can decide who's who.
But that's the problem right there is they don't know the history of America. They skip an entire time here. They can't go back beyond the last few hundred years. They can't. When we talk about the Bering Strait, they have a problem with that. They don't understand that the United States was covered in mile-high ice.
Nope.
Inhabitable. And when that ice broke and people were able to come and venture out more, then you start seeing and noticing things. They don't know any of this. They just try to refute everything. Like they wait for us to say something and then they want to go back and try to poke holes into it and stay right there on and bounce around topics. But
They
just
did.
like Joseph, he in the chat, Joseph Greer, whoever the guy is, he's going on and on and on. Y'all don't know. You're right. We don't know the Chiefs. I don't know. Do you know the Chiefs?
Hey, so if they did build a ship and come over here, how in the hell they knew ice was over here? Because niggas was a little naked. They had no clothes 130,000 years ago.
Come on, wait a minute.
I'm just saying, like think about it. A boat is fast transportation there. So you talking about being able to get from Africa to America in about what? 2 months? A month, 30, what, 45 days? That's the trip, right? So think about that. Who in the hell knew it was a land over here? How they know to bring I guess they had to bring lion skins or something because they would have froze their ass off. How they know?
They sent smoke screens in the air, you know, with
Wait a minute. Listen, I want y'all to check out this psychology. This is the classic psychology of these people. The prophetic says, I've worked with hundreds of real Africans from Africa, and they look different to me. So he's saying that he's not African because Africans look different to him.
All right, man.
How different? Can we get a picture, prophetic, of how you look? And what's different about your phenotype, your DNA from an African? Because Africans are the most diverse group of people. They look like everybody. They got all sorts of features.
Yeah,
So what's different? I don't understand that psychology. Like they look different from me. Who got this on the wall? Okay, somebody got this. Who got this picture up? Is that you, Unc? Oh, that's
that ain't me.
Oh yeah. So look how Africans
It's me now.
different.
Come on.
Africans look like everybody. I mean, which African look different than you?
Yo, let me see. I can't click on that. Let me see.
Go back a little bit, Sean.
Oh man, kill him with that one. Killed them. What page? Killing them.
Go to page 31.
What book that's in, Sean?
So which one of these Africans you look like, bro?
What book is that, Sean?
Exactly.
Page 30, right?
The one you got. You know, the one you got.
Come on, man. So which one, bro, man? Look.
Yeah, exactly. We can go here and look. These are all. These people are all on the continent right here.
Looking like Native American. Here go one like a Native American. Hold on, look. Hey, show the one like a Native American. Hey, show that one. Come on, yo.
Oh, down there in the corner.
Nah. Right underneath the brother with the young brother with the locks. Right next to the Corey Sand, the sister.
Right here.
Got you. You move
Right
it to, right underneath of him. Up. Right there. See that? Stop. You see her?
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell me she ain't a Native American while y'all bullshitting. You see her, right?
Or you mean she looked like a Native American?
Right. I know I'm just bullshitting with him. I'm trying to show him how crazy it is. Right there. There you go. Right there. She ain't no Native American. She on the continent of Africa. Y'all tripping. Y'all straight tripping. Right there. Come on, man. You look at all these. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, I don't understand that psychology. We look different from Africans. First of all, we have a mixture because of the Atlantic slave trade. Second of all, Africans have different various looks. They don't look like one thing.
Hold on. Whoa. Put it back up there. I'm going to find my man Tom and shit from the corner. Watch this. Put that back up there, yo. Now, you see the young brother with the locks? Right beside him, up at the top row. The third, right there. Stop moving, watch. Look at that. Tell me they don't look like, yo, homeboy right there. How he look any different than any other African American? He don't. See what I'm saying? Come on, man. Y'all gotta stop that, yo. Y'all on reverse racism right now. Y'all tripping, yo. Yeah, y'all doing too much, yo. Y'all crazy, yo. They doing too much, yo.
Right, they want to set up a situation where we look different than they look. Like, that's not true. Africans look just like we look. I mean, there's tribal people who may have more archaic features, but truth be told, like Native Americans and Mongolians have more archaic features than Africans. Them big jaws, them saggy eyebrows, them slanted eyes, they have their features are way more archaic than most Africans. That's why when we come to the debate of the Olmecs and them looking black, it's a psychological mind game to think that the Olmecs look black because they have those features. Africans don't look like that. What Africans that look like the Olmecs? West African, Fulani, Nigerians, which group?
They gonna say the Nubians.
The Nubians? The Nubians don't. Come on now.
Yeah, nah,
the Nubians don't have archaic features like that. The Olmecs have archaic features. Those are strong features.
You got this. Nah,
Let me see where you at.
Magazine, right?
Click on screen.
Is
Page
that
40.
the National Geographic one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it downstairs.
All right. So okay, it's what you talking about. Look, they try. Look. Now, let me show you this.
What they say? Read it.
Huh?
What did it say? I can't see it.
No.
Let me go see it.
Look, just look. They try to disappear the arrows. Remember how you?
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh,
All the
yeah.
arrows, right? Then they try to run the arrow back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that way. Look, see that?
Right, that's what the research is pointing to. I'm telling you, and people don't know.
Start that argument right now. No, I don't.
But listen, you know where that is, right? That's the Oceania, right there.
I know with all that. Yeah, but
all the land.
But the Australia population come out of Australia. First of all, like, come on, man. Like, you know what, yo? Like, they get to Australia about 60,000 years ago. They know that, right?
Right.
They know 15, 20,000 years in Americas, man. That's it, man. Stop it. Now, if y'all send, but I'm thinking we the mothers and fathers of those people. We not them people, man. Come on, man.
Well, if you don't belong to M or N, you're not the mothers and fathers of anybody out of Africa. If you don't belong to M or N or L and O, you're not the mothers and fathers. Because what happened in Arabia, people don't want to know, is that's when they mixed with the Desonoban. And then they went into Asia, mixed with another archaic. Africans didn't mix with no Desonoban in Arabia. Yes, we did mix with other archaic. Yes, we did mix with other archaics in Africa, but not outside of Africa. So if the Africans who left Africa didn't mix with the Desonobans and didn't mix with the Neanderthal, it's likely they wouldn't have survived the climate. Because that's how they were able to develop those mutations to help them withstand the cold environment in the different environments. That's why when they get into Europe, their skin gets lighter, because when you're not closer to the equator, then you don't have the vitamin D. You don't have the vitamin D. You go crazy. You have like a deficiency and you get psychotic. That's why the one book, The Iceman Inheritance, one of the symptoms of that is psychosis. Like they went crazy without the vitamin D. And so the African wasn't able to survive those cold climates, but with that admixture, the Desonoban, the Neanderthal, it helped their survival. That didn't help it. That didn't happen in Africa. So we can't claim that we are the mothers and fathers. Like, nah, we not.
Look, it says the human migrated out of Africa in 2 waves. Some scientists say they adapted to new environments in many ways. Skin color is just one. Watch this. You talked about this. High altitude populations, for example, adapted to breathing low oxygen air. And they would have gotten that particular gene from the Denisovans. So like she said, y'all can go ahead and be indigenous Native Americans. That means y'all got that Denisovan in your blood. You don't want that. They don't want that in them, do they?
Right. And then some black people, take your ass to the Alps. Take your ass to the Himalayas. You'll fall out. You'll have a stroke in Asia, certain parts of Asia.
Y'all got that Neanderthal in y'all. Y'all want that. Now y'all can have that now. I need to let y'all know that. That's funny. So all the Native Americans, they got that Denisovan Neanderthal thing kicking in them. I want y'all to know that. Remember that. All right, get that straight. Remember, us from West Africa in these different places, you know what I'm saying? We never left Africa, right? Until we was a part of the largest migration of human beings known to man, was that transcontinental kidnapping trade. All right, so there you go. All right, now. See, y'all the main ones fighting against, oh man, the white man's Neanderthal. No, you the Neanderthal. How about that? Now, got you. Checkmate. Now, pick your poison.
Oh, you funny.
Yeah, pick your poison. Y'all right. Y'all native Denisovans. There you go. Now, there you have it. You say you can't prove Africa never traveled the oceans in the last what?
Yeah, we can. 50,000 years. We can do that. Where's the technology that actually would state that an African can cross the cross current, the current multi-current. You had multi-current winds that blew in all directions that would stop you from going north, south, east, or west unless you hung near the coastline. I'm gonna repeat this one more time. Canoes couldn't get out there in the Atlantic. Rafts couldn't get out there in the Atlantic. Certain ships couldn't make it back for drifting down south because they couldn't get north and they couldn't go east and they couldn't go west. These ships only had the technology to travel in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
They didn't have the technology to get out in the big oceanic way because they did not know how to get back.
That's why Musa never came back. That's why second never came back.
Musa came back. Stop it.
My fault. Abu Khan never come back, yo.
Right, like it's crazy.
Never
And
came back, yo.
it wasn't until the Portuguese broke with that technology and that sail, they got them to come downstream and back the same way that they came from. Once they figured that out, they led that technology and they broke it and they opened up the oceanic trade. Whatever they wanted to do at that point, they were the leaders in that because they were the first ones to establish that, and others follow suit. Them boats weren't leaving the Mediterranean Sea. That's why they had all them confusion in the Mediterranean Sea and trade going on back and forth and wars fighting specifically in the Mediterranean because they couldn't get out there in the ocean.
This how I know people don't pay attention. That's how I know people don't pay attention. We done talked about this a few darn times, man, on the Master Warrior Clan about Prince Henry, about the Portuguese explorer, the age of discovery. We done talked about all this stuff. That's how I know people don't pay attention, man. This is stuff that we done talked about and talked about and talk about. I can't believe people still thinking they done set sail out there with canoes and came back. That's just crazy to me, man.
Hey, yo, come on, man. See, if you got the thing to think you did everything, we ain't do every damn thing, yo. Nature don't just teach black people, yo. Nature teach everybody, yo. Some real shit. Hey, but I'm saying the Egyptians did have sails on their ships, though, yo. What y'all talking about?
Don't start. Please don't start.
I'm gonna start because they did have sails on their damn ship. No, they didn't. No, they didn't go out in the Atlantic. The Mediterranean Sea ain't no joke, though. How about that?
They went out there. They did.
The Mediterranean Sea ain't no joke.
And people posting pictures of 20th century technology rafts and trying to compare it to the 13 and the 1400s or even 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. You cannot do that. The Atlantic Ocean 3,000 years ago was much tougher than it is today.
Facts.
You said the what?
Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, the Atlantic Ocean 3,000 years ago was much tougher to navigate than it is today.
God damn. Wow, that's crazy because it ain't no joke today. They got engines and power and diesel and all right, man. So look, all right, so we're gonna pick this conversation up. Where we at? How long we been rocking?
We've been rocking for 2 hours. Whoa,
we overtime.
So
we out of here. Look, so all right, everybody do their closing statements. Once again, no Aboriginal American has, y'all got a right to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. All right, you just don't got a right to keep putting that information out there. Look, we got 997 subscribers. Can we please go over 1,000 a day, please? Can we get that? All right, we restarting it. Can we get that? I hit that like button. I hit that subscribe button. Right. I appreciate all the Aborigines, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Ain't for real, yo. We just gunfights with the information. We just waiting for y'all to refute some of that. Now I might debate over the Mediterranean Sea. You know what I'm saying? And the Bering Sea, I think they kind of serious. And I think the Egyptians in their own right were hell of a sailors. but they just hadn't discovered those parts. I mean, I debate y'all on that anytime y'all want to get in with that. Yeah,
Don't do it. Don't do it.
that's my closing statement. Anybody want to debate me over the Egyptians' abilities to say, I debate y'all. All right, go ahead now. Your closing statement.
Okay, so just to review, we did go over a lot of different topics. We talked about some of the claims that we hear in the conscious community a lot, regarding who's African and who's not African. We talked about DNA. Of course, we talked about migration. We talked a little bit about our history, and we talked about psychology a little bit. So the thing about this community of Aboriginals, I think Brother Kufi did a good job, because he gave y'all 400 years where y'all can claim to have some type of connection with the Native Americans. But to claim that you were here before the Native Americans or even the Aboriginals, it's disingenuous. You were here and we came over here, but you were not the original. So I think that it's important that we have context and that we're honest in our conversations, because it's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of things that we have to cover. We got education, we got to deal with economics, we have to deal with our psychology, we have to deal with building. So we need to focus on the things that's going to unite us. It's okay to say Grandma said that I was Native, but to try to take someone else's history and culture is disingenuous and it's not African. So the only reason why we have these conversations at Amaroska, because we want to make sure that we're presenting the most accurate scientific information at all times. Brother Nahisi?
Yeah, I mean, discussions like this are needed, but for it to go forward, people are going to have to definitely do their own independent research and just stop going off the top of the dome. We definitely need to do our research, because when folks are talking about that they sailed here 50,000 years ago, lets me know that they haven't did 1 ounce of study. They're just going off of feel good and throwing out numbers.
All right. Brother Kufi, sorry.
It's Kofi.
Kofi. So Kofi.
Yeah, like the coffee is Kofi.
Okay, Kofi. I'm gonna get that right one day. Kofi.
Okay, you and Dr. Ma'ak called me Kufu, Kafa. Okay, it's all.
I got it now.
I just want to say, man, I see when I watch some of these shows and stuff, I see some of the same questions that's been told over and over, man. I think we need to start picking up pen and paper, and when people are having bills or are doing presentations, take notes, you know what I'm saying? So you won't have to come back and ask the same questions over and over, just information that you got. Just take the notes and then go back and research it. A lot of us gives a lot of resources, so pause the videos or pause when Brother Uncle Cat or some of these other brothers are posting these books, you know what I'm saying? Go back and look at them, get these books, write these books down, go and read the books, do the and do your own research. And if you want more information with far as I was talking about the 400 years, I got 3 installments. Who was the Gullah and the Gula Geechee people, the Black Seminoles, the Seminoles Freemen / Black Seminole Scouts. I go through the whole thing, us encountering the Indians for 400 years, us adapting their way of life, their clothing, their lifestyle, them enslaving us, all those different things. It's on the Massey Warrior Clan as well as my Kofi Fireside TV. So go check that out. Appreciate everybody for tuning in.
Thank you so much. All right, Brother Sean.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the panel. Peace to everybody in the chat for tuning in for the bill. Hopefully, we can continue to learn and grow and not stay stagnant and setting each other back. That I mean, conversations like these are needed as long as they're in a controlled environment and we all can learn. Because if we're not learning to move our people forward, then we stay stagnant and or are hindering each other. And some of the topics and the things that y'all say for the unlearned or the people that are unwilling to learn, you are setting us back. And that's the reason why we have these conversations and we do the research and we try to present the information to you to help you to lead you from that path of misinformation and get you back straight. Because in order for us to move, we're going to need a collective. I mean, I know not everybody is going to join, but and stand by the right thing, but it is what it is. So just keep reading books, man, and stop looking at YouTube and Google articles that only validate your point. Read till you uncomfortable. Read the things that that make you feel good, but also read the things that make you absolutely uncomfortable, and then take your time and break both of those texts down until you can come away with an honest conclusion right now. And I think that's where we're at people who have an honest conclusion, and then we have people that have a dishonest conclusion. So that's all I got, man. Thank y'all for having me on. Oh
Thank you.
yeah, go subscribe to the Massa Warrior Clan channel and the Seshu Monumental Natural channel as well. We are members of that. And again, hit that bell and subscribe here too.
Okay.